Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Lee with Let's Talk, and I have a group of people in here today. I have two of my co-hosts who have been. Just so everybody knows, they treat me really bad, and they're not really going to be on the job much longer. So there may be a new crew in here.
Get your resumes ready.
Yeah. But it's Hollis Lewis and Lisa Otey.
Hello.
And
Hello.
we have a guest in the building, and I think Hollis is going to do the introduction.
We have Delegates, soon-to-be Senator Shawn Fluharty. He is not only that, he's an attorney, but he also is a global strategist, global government relations for a gaming company. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I am an attorney by trade, and a couple years ago I went in-house with a large European company named Play & Go. They're a supplier in the online space, and it's in the iGaming space, so a lot of people get a little bit confused. You get the sports betting side of online betting, and you also have the iGaming side, and there's only one of 7 states now in the U.S., and proud to say years ago West Virginia became one of those 7 states, but now they're looking for expansion in North America, and I'm helping head up the U.S. strategy and Canadian strategy, North American strategy for that company to help put safe regulatory product in place instead of allowing the black market to thrive, which we have for a number of years now when it comes to the online gaming space. So as a legislator, I helped move sports betting legislation back in 2018 before PASPA was even overturned, and then a year later in 19, we ran iGaming legislation. And right now, West Virginia is at the forefront of gaming expansion, whether it's iLottery, iGaming, sports betting. We have more verticals available in the state of West Virginia than arguably any state in the country right now. And it does things like fund the Promise Scholarship fully and completely, which we've been able to do for a number of years. It does things like fund elderly home cares throughout the state. So where the money goes is vitally important. And just last week, we had legislation that helped take revenues from lottery money and put it into vital things that we need in the state, services for our citizens. So,
EMS.
EMS services for the first time in our state's history.
First time.
And we were able to do that because we have a thriving online gaming environment that's capturing all that revenue money that's been going in the black market for a number of years.
So what's the difference between, because you mentioned iGaming and sports betting, what's the difference there?
So iGaming is essentially online casino games. So whether it be a slot machine, whether it be poker, we actually have. So when we ran the iGaming legislation back in 19, we became part of MASIGA, which is the Multi-State Internet Gaming Agreement. And that is an agreement between states to allow for players on the poker side of things to play against each other. So years ago, there was this rampant black market when it came to online poker. And I'm sure many of you have followed the World Series of Poker and followed. Yeah. But back when I was in college and undergrad and law school, you had party poker, you had Absolute Bet, you had all these different betting programs online available, complete black market. No revenue whatsoever, no taxation whatsoever. And then federally, the Bush administration, basically, they called it Black Monday, pulled the plug on it and said it's not going to be available. So it took a number of years for states to put in their own framework and infrastructure. So when you talk about online gaming, yes, there's slots available and also things like blackjack, but part of that also includes online poker, where if you're in West Virginia, you can play against individuals in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Michigan, for example, other states that are part of the iGaming agreement.
Now, okay, so I'm glad you explained that, and that's good, particularly as it relates to where the fund is going, because I think that's an important caveat to all this. So no matter where you fall, the funding actually in West Virginia, as far as the lottery is concerned, it went to go fund EMS, which was never funded at a state level before. Right. So, and that's happening all over the country. So, but when we talk sports here, and a lot of times what happens is what we're seeing, it seems like just the gambling, the betting culture in some respects is like ruining the sport experience, whether that's for the fan or whether even that's for like the players. So for example, as far as fandom is concerned, it's just like they're constantly at your pocket. So you got to pay to go to the games, you got to pay to watch the games now, and now they want you to even paid to bet on the game, and that seems like it's like every other commercials, DraftKings this or that or that. So what would be your response to sort of that train of thought, or people who think like that?
You're still watching.
Lord Jesus,
I mean, in fact, more people are watching now than they ever have before, in large part because they got a little piece in the game. And, people are betting on sports. It's not that they're even betting more because, quite frankly, they're already betting. Now, is it more rampant? Sure, because it's more available and it's easier. The access becomes easier. But those who wanted to gamble, they were already gambling. And now more people are watching and paying attention. If it's NFL Sunday and the Browns are getting smoked, guess what? The people are still watching the game because they might have some pizza money on it, on the outcome. And actually, the ratings are higher than they've ever been, and it's directly attributable to the expansion of online gaming. Now, I will say this. I'm annoyed by the advertising as well. And I think it's something that back in 18, not just in West Virginia, but PASPA fell. When PASPA fell, the Supreme Court said sports betting belongs to the states. The states can implement their framework and have at it. And then all these states, domino effect, we're up to 39 states. In a short amount of time, think about 7 years, 39 states. You know how hard it is to get legislation passed? You know how hard it is?
For sure.
Okay, to say that 39 states looked at this and said, this is something we want to do, tells you how popular it is and how rampant the black market was that they're trying to shrink and provide consumer protections. Now, as far as the advertising things go, sure, it's annoying, but there's also the constitutional side of this when it comes to your commercial rights to run a legal product and advertise on it. Now, I get annoyed by it, and I think there's going to be an attempt, maybe federally, the Safe Bet Act comes to mind, to try to rein that in. But there's also constitutional examples when it comes to commercial advertising that, this isn't probably the area to discuss it, but that's why you see it without a whole lot of checks and balances on it. In Europe, who's been betting on sports a hell of a lot longer than we have, they have what they call whistle-to-whistle regulation, which means no in-game advertising. I think that's something that a lot of people would like to see, and I quite frankly would as well. I think for your point, hey, I'm watching a game. Do I need to be enticed to go bet on it while I'm watching, or is that just a little bit much? Look, it's only been 7 years. We haven't had full regulation in many states until recently, so you're going to have some growing pains along the way. But at the end of the day, it's a much better product than it was prior to PASPA being overturned, and it's much better for the consumer. There's more guardrails in place than ever before, and we're able to shrink the black market and capture that revenue.
All right, so for me as a former player, and when I think about players in the NFL currently playing, I think there becomes a problem for NFL players, former players, because we're not, quote, really allowed to bet, right? Like we can't bet on our games. We're not allowed to basically do that. My only concern is that the attraction of it, and we've seen a couple of people in the past,
particularly with the prop bets,
getting caught in doing that. And I think what happens is if a player is doing that, more than likely he's got an issue. He's having an issue because you know that if you get caught, your whole entire career could be over. How do we keep players out of that structure? And again, with all of the promotion of it, and again, I don't have any issues with it with the general public. But I know guys who've gotten into that situation, and it's caused them some major issues. How do we separate that from actually players betting on games?
Well, I would say the fact that they're actually getting caught now shows that the system is working, because we have the ability now for the Indians example comes up, right? Recently, the pitcher for the Indians
Guardians.
The Guardians, I'm sorry. Guardians. He was caught throwing it was like the first pitch of the game, intentionally throwing balls.
Yeah. Okay,
how did we capture that? How do we know? Because there was an influx of bets on that particular prop that red flagged by the regulators and the operators, the sports books, red flagged that and said, hey, there's an issue here, and they investigated it. So my argument back would be, now we're catching guys on a regular basis that we weren't catching before.
So the gaming industry actually caught him?
Sure.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the books, they know every single bet. And when there is an uptick in a certain market, whether it be a prop bet or otherwise, even in your own account, for example, if you're betting $10 a game, then all of a sudden you're betting $1,000. Well, that's a red flag. And they mark that, and then they investigate, and they may reach out to you or pause your account, pull your account, whatever it may be. So when it comes to a professional athlete, when those markets are having an uptick that is abnormal, it gets flagged. And you're seeing it with the Trailblazers, you know, what happened there with Chauncey Billups. All of these things, to my view, show that the regulated market works. The idea that these guys weren't betting on games prior to 2018 is a bit of a stretch. They were, but we weren't catching them.
Right.
You know, whether it's Pete Rose and it took years, whether it's the Black Sox scandal in 1919, I think was the year, you know, that took years to come about, and you can't really capture it in real time. Now we're capturing it in real time, and we're flagging it, and we're identifying it. And then for those who do have real problems, so problem gamblers represent about 1% of gamblers. Now, we hear about a lot because it's newsy.
That's the attention,
It gets attention. But the reality is, as far as those who actually have real problems, it's a very, very small number. And now more than ever, we have the ability, because now we're capturing and regulating the market, to get them help if they need it. And I completely agree as far as individuals who are playing the game. You know, I'm a bit surprised sometimes that we find professional athletes who are making millions of dollars, and they're risking their career for pennies on the dollar. It's when it truly they have a problem, right? And it's not about even the money. It's just the rush, I suppose, you know, and getting that fix, and they're going to find it one way or another. But I think the idea is that we are capturing these individuals. We're getting them help when they need it, and then we're flagging it to keep the integrity of the game, which I think a lot of people think is at risk whenever all these scandals come up. But for each scandal that comes up, I look at it as, hey, the reason we know about it so quickly is that we have the mechanisms in place to trace suspicious betting practices and then report on them, investigate them, and then act on them.
So Delegate Fluharty, thank you so much for being on the podcast tonight. I don't know if we've said that previously, but I want to make sure that gets out there. So you've mentioned just a few minutes ago that you are the head of government affairs at Play and Go. And you also do your legislative job during session. And we kind of talked about this a minute ago, but I just wanted you to share with the audience, how are you able to balance being able to be a part of the legislature this time of year and do a full-time job with Play and Go?
Just like everybody else does. I mean, we have a citizens legislature, and what I like about the legislature in West Virginia is we all have full-time real jobs. Now, some of those jobs, you can take a break during session. You know, as when I was practicing law with my law firm at the time, there's literally a code that says judges can't bring you before them during legislative session, so I could file a stay with the court and not have to go in. No, that doesn't happen with most people, but you have that for that particular protection. So no, there's a lot of, you know, everybody in the legislature has a full-time job, and everybody balances their time even during session. So, you know, my employer has a understanding that, hey, I'm tied up for legislative session, and it pulls me away. But that's, you know, a lot of work has to be done to make sure I get things squared away prior to coming to Charleston. But just like everybody else, everybody's juggling jobs. And just like West Virginians out there, you're juggling everything, right? In your time. So, no, and I also have, I'm also president of the National Council of Legislators from Gaming States. So that's Nickel G's. And what that is a group of lawmakers throughout the country that try to have best practices in the gaming side of regulation, whether it be sports betting, iGaming. When I first joined the legislature back in 2014, I learned of this organization. It's been together now for about 25 years, and I am now president of it. I'll be president until, when does that time run out? I think it runs out in December of this year, and then my buddy Al Williams will take over from Georgia. So there's lawmakers throughout the country who work for best practices, whether it's consumer protections, you know, sports betting, thoroughbred racing. In West Virginia, we have like all these verticals, and you learn about them through these types of organizations that, hey, what's going on in Pennsylvania? What can we learn from? What's going on in Virginia, who's running iGaming legislation now, and build those, you know, it's like I wouldn't call it a think tank, but it's a way for legislators in those states to kind of bounce ideas off each other. We meet 2 times a year, and we try to put together good legislation for lawmakers throughout the country.
So again, you kind of articulated how regulations have actually helped in some ways, particularly as it relates to, you know, professional athletes gambling. You could sort of catch that in real time. regarding prop bets and different things of that nature. What would be your response to, because I think what we've talked about previously is that now it seems as though we have like a gaming culture where you have young guys. It's like you're kind of coming up, you know, and betting and gaming is sort of a kind of a part of maybe what you and your friends groups do.
Yeah.
And it becomes, you know, it can become a hobby or it become toxic. So what would you say, what would be your response to people who say that that's maybe not a good thing?
Well, it's an adult product designed for adults. It's 21 and up in the state of West Virginia. There's only a couple states in this country that have it 18 and up, Kentucky, our neighbor, being one of them. And I would argue, is it more of the culture in the sense that it's more advertised and it's more acceptable today? I'd say that's accurate. But to say that it wasn't available before, like I said, when I was in college, I was betting on sports. I was playing poker online, you know, while I was at Morgantown. So
parlays,
all of those things were readily available. And then there'd be times if you'd win, you couldn't get a payout because it was over in some offshore company, right? So now it's onshore and it's regulated, and you actually have recourse available to you as a consumer if you're participating. But it's an adult use product and it's designed for adults. And our regulations are in place now where that's what we still try to do. You're not seeing FanDuel advertise WVU football games or in the Coliseum. Like there are barriers in place to try to keep it as an adult use product, much like we do anything else. You know, whether it's alcohol or anything else, we have an adult use product designed for adults. Now, is it more culturally acceptable and we're talking about it more often? Sure, because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if you were betting on sports, you probably didn't want your buddy to know about it or your neighbor to know about it because it may have that identity to it that was like, I don't know if that's on the up and up, you know? But now it is. And so I think that has changed the discourse a bit.
And I would argue probably this is where we were going anyway, particularly when you consider like fantasy football, fantasy sports in general. Because I know we would do like the pools and it would be kind of not direct gaming, but it would be sort of associated with that. So what do you see as far as like what's sort of the evolution? What's the next step when it comes to, you know, particularly gaming around sports and different things of that nature? Because what we're seeing now is like, I know, for example, ESPN had a book. They no longer have a book. Like, so what do you see?
Yeah, because they had a bad product. It just wasn't any damn good. It was nobody cared about it. You know, and it's so that's just the market at play. I think what you'll see is more of they call it the omni-channel, where look, prediction markets we haven't touched on. That's a real issue, and prediction markets where you saw just this past weekend, they are getting exploited and railed against because they had a market on the Iran war, and a lot of insider trading goes on. So somebody made $500,000 betting that we were going to strike Iran by a certain time, and that's called a prediction market. You want to talk about the Wild West? It is they're offering sports bets as well, and they're arguing that the CFTC controls it, and therefore they can make all these markets available, and there's nothing states can do about it. There's going to be a Supreme Court fight coming in the next probably 6 months, and you know that's probably for the story for another time. But they're a real threat to state revenues because now even DraftKings, FanDuel, and others are getting involved in prediction markets, and they're offering these markets on things happening, and they're going too far. So one being the Iran war currently, and you know they're offering, you know, will Trump be impeached by a certain time? All these markets that are just crazy stuff. Originally, it's actually a really good story. So we were in sports betting legislation back in 2018. I drafted the legislation, and as Hollis knows how things work, is they wouldn't let me be the lead sponsor when they were really going to take it up. I had to be a co-sponsor, even though it was my baby, and you know I knew everything about it. But it's neither nor here or there. But we offered it up in a way that prediction markets would be available. So what I mean by that is, say you want to bet on the Grammys. You okay with that? You okay with betting on the Grammys? Who's going to win the Grammys? Are you okay with betting on who's going to win a presidential election? Because we designed and kept the language open for that. And what happened was an operator in West Virginia at the time offered a market on, I believe it was a presidential election or maybe a U.S. senator's race. And Jim Justice got wind of it in a press conference. And at the press conference, they said, hey, you know, Governor Justice, are you aware that the race for U.S. Senate was made available as a betting market in the state of West Virginia? And in typical Jim Justice fashion, he's like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. We're not going to do that. No, we're not going to do that. So the Wall Street Journal calls me, and they were like, hey, you know, you draft this legislation. What's your opinion on this? And my point was, we spend billions of dollars on elections, and we have dark money, and we have all these campaign contributions. You mean to tell me the guy betting $20 down the street on who's going to win the presidential election or a U.S. senator's race really is changing that market whatsoever, like, let them do it. And so fast forward to today, and prediction markets are taking over, and they're everywhere. And it's going to be a real federal issue because it's going to have to be reined in because the market's available. You think prop markets are bad? Well, I would argue betting on the Iran war is far worse when you're talking about what markets should be made available to consumers.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me ask this. All right, so your conversation to me is legit, and it's where it's not me. You know what I'm saying? Like, because where my issue is, and where I think the issue is in athletics, specifically professional sports, comes with that guy betting. Regardless of who you're betting on, whether you're betting on yourself, betting on the margin of winning or losing. I've always been in sports, and being in sports, betting was always the worst thing that you could do.
Yeah.
If you were betting
on yourself,
on yourselves, or in general in the sport,
because you can manipulate the market by
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even I could call my buddy Sterling and say, hey man, can you drop a couple of those balls and don't get in the end zone?
Yeah.
Because I got this good bet. I'll get you cut in.
Yeah.
So my question is, how does this impact sports as a whole? Because I understand kind of the other situation, but are we trying to make sports betting as athletes who are participating in the sport being able to bet on games?
No, there's no league that allows individuals who play the actual sport to bet on them. That's not allowed. That's not allowed under NFLPA rules, under NHL, Major League Baseball, whomever it may be. That's not currently allowed. And if it takes place, then each league has their own rules that apply to that, and in all likelihood, you have the chance of losing your ability to participate, period, and lose your job.
See, and that's my only fear is the dude who's loves betting.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to say he's hooked on betting, but he loves betting. He gets out there and bets. He gets caught up, and now his career is over. I don't know how.
But would you say that, like, in a situation like that, because it's popular, that you're going to see the leagues take more of a rehabilitative approach to it, and not necessarily punitive?
It's a mixed bag. I think the leagues realize that, and I believe it was Mark Cuban, when PASPA was overturned, essentially when he owned the Mavericks at the time, he said that the value of of the team just doubled because he knew that the popularity would take off. There'd be more eyes and ears on it. Leagues are partnering with sports betting. They're not running away from it.
And that's my next question.
And nor should they.
That's true.
So do you see?
Because there's a hell of a lot of money to be made by them.
But do you see a time in which the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, they're just going to have their own gaming? So they're not. It's not going to be a partner.
Becoming operators?
Just
No.
become straight up operators. Like, this is the NFL bet.
Nope, I don't think so. I think you may see a blending. And you're already seeing that, like,
Yeah, pretty much.
that they partner. They're
Because
the
they're
official,
invested. I mean, Jerry Jones
the official,
invested.
organization tied.
Well,
to,
and you're letting these commercials come through during the game tons and tons and tons of time. And in the backdrop, you're telling me, don't do it.
Yeah.
It's illegal. And to me, and I think where players get upset about, you're telling me I can't do something, but you're making tons of money sending out that commercial all through the games.
And I think now, like, the rule is they just can't bet on their own sport. So if you're an NBA guy, you can bet on the NFL,
that's
right?
the rub, and I think I think that's kind of the negotiation we've seen. Originally, it was you're banned from betting on
period.
anything.
Yeah.
And now,
Sports related.
now there's been this kind of compromise where it's like, just stay out of your own pool. Right, just stay out of if you're a basketball player, stay out of basketball. If you are an NFL player, stay out of the NFL. And I think that makes sense because, look, regardless of what your job is, there's things you can and cannot do. And just because you enjoy betting doesn't mean you should be allowed to do it to maintain your profession.
Right.
Much like anything else. If you like drinking, that doesn't mean you can drink and get behind the wheel of a car if you're a bus driver. Like, there's all there's all kinds of things we can point to and say you can and cannot do.
And the trouble with me not being able to, quote, me not being able to do basketball because I'm playing football. Hollis is playing basketball. Me and him are like this. You know, I'm going to be able, at some point in time, we're going to work this deal where, I'm going to be betting somewhat through him.
So that's called,
and I don't know how you
that's
control
called
that.
proxy betting, and proxy betting is not legal. And there are ways that people discover proxy betting. And I think many people would point to the Shohei Otey scandal as potential proxy betting. Now, they never found direct evidence that he was participating.
I don't know.
But
3 blind mice on that one.
But a lot of you cannot proxy bet. That's under every gaming regulator in the country. That's not allowed because that's opening a door for all kinds of frivolous activity, and it's usually discoverable and usually it's found out. And the Otey example is a prime one, right? How does one discover that? Well, there are some improprieties in the betting markets, and they were flagged. So, as this becomes more popular and more rampant, there's more eyes, ears, and technology on sports betting. It becomes so advanced that it's going to be almost impossible for these individuals to get away with it. And what I'll say with the prop bets, and that's the one where the NCAA has come out and said they don't like prop betting, and other groups have come out and said they don't like prop betting. So what many books are doing on their own is they're capping the bet. So if you want to bet on props, when it was first introduced, you may be able to get down for thousands of dollars on a prop bet, and now you're not. It's going to be capped at $50, $100, whatever it may be. So to your point, if you're going through somebody else, you're going to have to go through like a pool of people. You're going to have to go through 300 people instead of one individual to get down at a margin that's going to make sense to you. So that's what operators are doing on their own accord without a state telling them to do that. They've looked at it and said, prop betting's very popular. We don't want to lose it altogether. Right? So let's figure out a way that we can allow it to continue, but do so with the right guardrails in place.
Now I know the NCAA, they've sort of, I don't know if they totally eliminated prop bets, but some of the leagues have sort of stopped some of them. So it's not the wide variety like it once was. Am I correct in that?
The NCAA came out, and I think they wrote like an opinion letter on, prop bets, and then some states have taken direct market action through the regulatory process. I don't think eliminating them altogether is the right play because they're still going to be available in the black market, right? You're going to start pushing people off. It's how do you get the right guardrails in place? So in West Virginia, you can bet on props, but you can't in Ohio. So if I'm in Ohio and I want to bet a prop, what am I going to do? I'm going to get online, and I'm going to go to Bovada or whatever offshore account is available and get down there instead of getting down on FanDuel or Bet365, whomever it may be.
So that was something I wanted to bring up quickly, Delegate Fluharty, is you've alluded to the offshore accounts and the black market. A lot of our audience may not be so familiar with what that entails when it comes to iGaming. Can you kind of explain what those
on iGaming?
Well,
or sports betting?
Sports betting, either or.
Sure.
iGaming or sports betting.
So there are, and we've gone after on the iGaming side in West Virginia. Our Attorney General J.B. McCuskey actually went after many companies that were operating in West Virginia illegally. They were offshore because we've licensed it, we've regulated it. These companies pay a lot of money to get up and running. And so the idea that you can allow these illegal operators from offshore accounts access in West Virginia is a consumer protection issue. And he went after them and did a great job. And I believe 19 to 20 operators pulled out of the state. They're no longer operating. Same goes with sports betting. And a lot of consumers don't even realize they may be on an illegal book. They think if they have access to it, which you do in every state, it's therefore regulated and legal. And that's, again, why advertising kind of helps in that circumstance, because you're not going to see an advertisement for these companies on TV because they are illegal, but you could still access them online if you sought them out hard enough. But if you're a consumer and you know that FanDuel is a West Virginia Lottery licensed operator, you feel more comfortable going to FanDuel or any other operator that's licensed through West Virginia Lottery. Now, if you're online and you just Google West Virginia sports betting, you may see ads. You probably have to go a couple pages deep these days on Google, but you may see websites you can access. And those websites are offshore, and they're not going to have the same consumer protections in place that the current onshore regulated markets have.
Makes sense.
Well, Delegate Fluharty, man, this has been educational. This has been a good edification on gambling.
Yes, and it makes more sense to me. So I can even make the case like that was informative for me. it just always, as soon as when I start hearing those kinds of conversations, my first thought is like, well, the league is just letting us do. They're letting people do it anyway, and then you're gonna when they're caught, you're gonna be like, oh, we're so anti this, we're going after them, and it's been shady to me, but. I think
it's the
was
way
good
in which
information.
it's coming across with the commercials and all that. So,
it's like you just said. I don't think the layman understands that these regulations are good things. That it's protecting you from the offshore, accounts and the illegal, betting.
The broken knees.
Yeah.
These offshore. That's right.
Broken knees.
It's not smoke-filled
kneecaps.
back rooms anymore.
Yeah.
It's not smoke-filled back rooms, nor should it be, nor should we treat it as that. But to your point. These offshore accounts, they don't care if you're a problem gambler. If you have that spike I discussed earlier, that you were betting $10, now you're betting thousands, they don't care. They'll take your money. Oh, you want to bet on props?
Right.
Oh, we don't care. We'll take your money. And regulated, these licensees, these license holders who care, they don't want you to have a betting problem or become a problem gambler. Right? They want this to be entertainment because entertainment has longevity. Problem gambling does not. And so that's a huge difference between onshore regulated, sustainable versus let's just take our money.
Yeah.
Give me that money.
Shady.
Hey, so we're gonna go to a break. I mean, if you want to hang out, you welcome to. And if you got to go, that's cool too. So we got about 30 more minutes. So we'll take a commercial.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Comment on episodes or suggest topics at our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee. And remember to like the page to become part of the conversation.
Let's face it, bad things happen to good people. Seriously injured in a car accident, trucking accident, or even wrongfully arrested. Life happens, and when it happens to you, you will need sound legal advice and aggressive representation. That's when you call attorney Frank Walker at 304-413-0179. That's 304-413-0179. Lock it in your phone, text it to a friend. 304-413-0179. Or visit online at attorneyfrankwalker.com.
Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
All right, welcome back. Let's Talk with Carl Lee. We just had Delegate Fluharty. He's breaking down the whole gambling thing to us. Very, very, very. I learned a lot. No lie. I'm still not sold, but I learned a lot. Still not going to gamble, but he definitely gave us a good edification on how it's actually can be a good thing as far as the regulatory process. We now have you're principal at Capitol High School, correct?
Yes, sir.
Principal John Anderson at Capitol High School. He's here to talk about the situation that's going on with Capitol High School. Now, just to give a little context, and I'll let you go, Principal Anderson. Capitol High has been the perennial number 1, number 2 team in the state at the 3A level. They've been a very, very good team. Now, what happened was you guys were 4A last year. You got bumped to 3A this year, but you still played a 4A schedule, which means that you didn't play a lot of teams within your quote-unquote region. But again, you beat the defending state champs, had a very successful 17-4 season. However, in the regional, you got placed at number 6 or 7 in the regional rankings. So could you break down kind of what happened and where we at with that?
Yes, sir. Here's kind of the whole scenario of what happened. There's 8 teams in our region. So you go in and you rank the teams. You don't rank your own team, so you rank everybody else. Herbert Hoover, Nicholas County, and there was one other one, ranked us number 1 in our region.
Ripley. Was it Ripley?
Ripley, yes, Ripley. And I want to give kudos to all those schools. Like you guys said earlier, we're 17-4. We're currently ranked 2 in the state. We've been 1 for about 2.5 months. Mm-hmm. We played AAA teams like Bridgeport. We played Chapmanville. We played GW. We played Parkersburg South. as our coach Cookie Miller says, we don't duck the smoke. We play everybody. We play the good teams in the state. So we had 4 teams in our region, which were Pikeview, Princeton, Shady Springs,
Greenbrier East.
And Greenbrier East. I'm sorry, I don't have all my notes right in front
No,
of
you're
me.
fine. I'll help you out.
They all rated us 7th in the state. They rated us as low as we possibly could. We played 0 regional games because we play in the MSAC, and we switched from a 4A schedule to a 3A schedule. So when that happened, we didn't have opportunities to we could have went to games and done games with like Pikeview and Nicholas County, but we had some opportunities for our kids to go visit colleges, to go out of state, things that for us were more valuable than playing these regional games. Now, take into consideration when you're ranking these, it's not based on your regional record. It's based on who you feel the best team in your region is.
Oh, okay. So let's put a pin right there. So, because from my understanding, I thought it was based on your regional record. That's why they ranked you lower. So it's just based off your overall record.
That is their excuse. And that's one thing you could consider in that, but the main thing is ranking your top 8 teams. I mean, I did my research. Our coaches, and they collaborated with us. That's part of the problem too here. You got people who are taking. First off, I'm gonna say it's disheartening from a capital standpoint for our kids who do everything they're supposed to. We got great kids too. Our varsity kids had a 3.87 cumulative GPA. So if that tells you anything, Cookie Miller's doing a great job with those kids. But it's very disheartening that, these coaches from these schools kind of took a shot at us. Could we have took away that trip to Columbus and Cleveland and eliminated those college trips? I guess so. But for us, that was more valuable at the time. And plus, like I said, we already had our schedule was predetermined through the MSAC. Now, moving forward, we do have several games scheduled for next year, but we've got coaches. I mean, let's be real. Do you think Pikeview wants to come and play Capital High School at Capital High School? Let's just be real while we're talking about it. Ronnie Olson at Shady Springs, he doesn't want to come to Capital High School and play. He wants a game on a neutral floor, which makes no sense, but it is what it is. You've got coaches making administrative decisions. I'll tell you this much. One of the administrators, and I won't say a name, but he came flat out and said, I don't agree with what my coaches did. And he went on a little tirade about that. And I finally, at the end of the conversation, I said, who's running your school? Who's the principal at this school? Because I'm where the rubber meets the road. Cookie Miller's a great guy. He does a great job with our kids. But sometimes if we have a disagreement, he's not the one that's going to be called into the superintendent's office. It's going to be me.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm making decisions that are best for my kids at school and for my school and for my program. So he brought me the list. I rubber stamped it because we collaborated. I had a very similar list to his, and we submitted it.
So let me ask you this, Coach. Let me ask you that. I'm sorry to jump in, but
no, you're good.
But because your program was at 4A last year, now you dropped to 3A. Your schedule's already set. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I don't want you to get in trouble. You don't have to answer this if you don't, but it seems like you don't have a problem answering questions.
I don't punch. Just go right ahead.
When this sort of controversy arose, do you feel maybe it's the WVSSAC's job to step in and say, look, we're gonna set the rankings because, again, this was kind of no fault of your own because, again, your schedule was set. You were 4A. And now you had to do what you had to do, right?
Yeah, if I don't understand, as the SSAC, they are the governing body of high school athletics in the state of West Virginia. So if I'm the governing body and I've got 8 teams in my region and I've got 3 teams that rank somebody number 1 and 4 teams that rank them number 7, we're going to have some collaboration. We're going to say, what is wrong with this? How can we justifiably rank Capital 7th? Doesn't make any sense. So yes, they should have stepped in. Yes, they should have. Something should have been done. My opinion.
And this is Carl Lee. How you doing?
Okay.
One of the interesting things to me about this whole thing is who is sitting there making that decision when you know it's going to be a controversial situation. Like you're going to rank a team that you're looking at, you've watched, heard about, at least heard about. That's a solid top 3, top 2 team. How do you how do you even come up with this? How does this even happen?
Well, when we did our ranking, I'm going to be forthright. If I'm ranking the top 8 teams, I got us and Ripley 1, 2. We can have a debate about that. Both really good ball clubs. I'm putting Greenbrier East 3. Okay. Greenbrier East is 3. Well, we went down, so they didn't slide up. They stayed at 3. But Greenbrier East is one of the schools that voted for us 7th. And Greenbrier East is a prize for this. Gets Capital High School Thursday night at their place. Now, I don't know who wins that ball game, but if I'm Greenbrier East, I think they're like 14-6. I sure don't want to play a 17-4 team in my first round game. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
They kind of did this to themselves. I mean, and I'm going to say this: our kids are resilient. They will bounce back. They will persevere through this win-loss. The lessons you learn in athletics, those are lifelong lessons. Not all good lessons, but they're lifelong lessons. So our kids will learn lessons from this and will persevere and move forward. It's just the collusion, and I'm saying it, collusion between Lakeview, Princeton, Shady, and Greenbrier East.
So John, this is Lisa. Hey, when Coach Cookie Miller, got with the team and explained that, hey, we're going to be this seed, in Region 3, what was their reaction? I mean, how did they take that?
They didn't even have to wait till practice. You could see it on their face when you're walking around the hallways.
Yeah.
It's disheartening. It's a smack in the face. It's just not fair. And look, and I said this in my interview before, I'm 51 years old. If somebody takes a shot at me, I'm a grown man. I'm a big boy. I can take it. But when you're messing with 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, come on, take a look in the mirror and look at what you're doing. Prioritize what you're doing, because if you're taking shots at kids, you're not doing right by kids. You shouldn't be working with kids if you're taking shots at kids like this, in my opinion.
And Coach, I truly believe that the structure, almost in all sports, the major structure of it is not for the kids. We've just, for some odd reason, we have lost the purpose of all. To me, the purpose of sports as a whole is not for me as the coach, but it is for my kids. How do you, there's no way I'm going to, if somebody comes up and say, we're talking about trying to do this deal, and I'm thinking, well, man, that's gonna kill Charleston. I'm not going with that. There's nothing inside of me that would be okay to do that. And I don't understand where are we getting these people in these positions? How are they getting in positions? It really is.
It is extremely disheartening, and it's sad. And the bad thing about it is our kids are dealing with some adversity. Of course, our kids deal with a lot of adversity at Capital. Our kids have had some struggles. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm proud of our kids. But I'll tell you what, I was at school at 8:15 on Saturday morning, and I walked in that locker room, and I had 15 kids and 4 coaches in there watching film, attentive. I walked back down the hallway about 9:30. We had as structured as practice as I've seen all year. Our kids will overcome this. Our kids are up for the challenge, win, lose, whatever happens. I'm proud of our kids, and this will inevitably make them stronger.
Yeah. But
it's not a lesson a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid should have to endure.
So let me ask this: as far as that is concerned, do you think, again, just to play devil's advocate, obviously the teams they had some sort of they could do it because that's the system. So do you think moving forward, has there been any discussions or potential advocacy on changing sort of the structure so these sort of things don't happen in the future?
I hope so. I will say this. There was an email sent out that morning when the ballots came out about possible collusion and ranking Capital High School low specifically. And those people were so brave and brassy that they bucked that, and they did it anyway. So I don't know. That's our governing – they govern athletics in the state of West Virginia. At some point, somebody's got to step in.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to figure out, where do we go? Where is that person
Well, I
that
think
has the
inevitably
ability.
what'll have to happen is it'll be like football, and we'll have a power rating of some type. You know what I mean? You see the power ratings every week. I mean, we were one for, I think we were one for 14 weeks, 15 weeks or something like that, and we're 2 now. But 2 in that power rating can't translate to 6th in a region.
No.
Behind I think a 9 and 11 Princeton team, and I mean it's crazy.
Yeah, it's just a world of difference when you have, like you stated, you had Hoover and Ripley and Nicholas ranking them at 1, and then obviously you have those other schools, Princeton, Greenbrier East, Pikeview, ranking them at the lowest possible level. I mean, that's not even that's a discrepancy that you can't even justify. Like you might see a team. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
3 out of the 4 of those schools are playing home games. Let's not even get into the finances.
Yeah.
You know, I think my team bus to Greenbrier East is about $600 and some. Plus, I don't know if you've been to a Capital basketball game this year. It's a vibe. We have a live crowd. It's fun. We have a DJ pregame. We've had a pep band. You know, and those are things that haven't always been there. But we're working on building community at Capital High School, and it's been a good transition. It's not fair.
Is it just? Do you think it's just intimidating that nobody wants to come there, like because of what you're creating, what the coach is creating, what the team is creating, and all of a sudden, if we come into that, and now it's playoff time and all of that, is that the worst place that they could come, and they don't want to come?
I mean, it's intimidating. There might be other factors that play into that too. I don't know. I hate to call it that way, but we look a little different than those teams.
I understand that. I understand that. And one of the things when you say that, the reality of it is we're in sports. We're in life. Just play with the ball. Don't work. Don't look around. Don't try to figure out who's what. Play the game. Take your win, take your loss, and just go.
That's right.
And Coach, I'm so impressed with the way you're standing up for your team and your school. 100%. I mean, a lot of times, you know, it's really hard to buck the system, and you seem to be doing a fine job of it for your kids. So kudos to you.
I talked to one of our kids today, Shotty Williams, and he was in the gym this morning. I think at 6:30 or something, shooting basketballs. And we talked, and he's like, "It's not an option. We have to be prepared." I said, "Yeah, Shotty, but understand this is a game. This is one game. You're preparing yourself for life and the things you're doing." And I saw Kasai Morgan in the hallway, and he came up and shook my hand, and he talked to me, and he said, and I said, "Don't put too much pressure on yourself."
100%.
He said, it's one game at a time. He said, "Mr. Anderson, this is one game of basketball." I said, "That's right." And these kids are learning that. You know what I mean? I don't want to put an undue stress or a burden on these kids. I got a great group of kids. I love them, and I care far more about them than I do about winning a basketball game.
And isn't it hard to fight a battle when your kids are already accepting it and trying to move forward, but you know that it's a fight that you have to be in, and yet your kids are like, "Don't worry about it. We're okay." That's a challenge, but that's a great thing when your kids are sitting in that kind of position.
The resiliency of my young kids in this program is remarkable. And I, as a 51-year-old man, I strive to be that way.
Yeah. So what tell us, the game is at Greenbrier East. When is the game and what time?
Greenbrier East, it's on Thursday night, 7:00. We're taking buses right now. A lot of people in the community have been very charitable and made donations. We have those links on our Capital High School page. Have made donations to help things easier. We're making sure every kid gets there. Right now, what we're charging them is $10 to go, and that's good for a ticket, a meal, and a bus ride.
Nice.
So we're trying to pick up, and the community's done a great job of bonding together and trying to pick that up for the kid to help out.
Nice. Well, good luck, Coach. I was going to call you Coach, but I'm going to call you Coach anyway. Principal Coach.
Sounds like a coach.
Yeah. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully this will, sometimes things like this have to happen, and hopefully this can lead to some systematic change.
Absolutely, and I want to say this, kudos to our girls team. They play tomorrow night in the regional final at Princeton, and we're doing the same thing. We're busing kids down there. We're excited. And I think I talked to Coach Miller today. He's going to do practice a little bit early. We're going to try to get our kids on the bus to go down there. Our student athletes, we support each other at Capital. It's like a family, and we try to have each other's backs.
That's what's up. Well, good luck, Coach.
That.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you,
Thank you.
John. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to close out here, but Hollis, I'm actually glad that we had him on, because this is something that you can't even, like, you can't look at it and not see it as ugly.
Unfortunately.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just it's zero. There's just zero. For me, as an African American male, I hate to go here, especially we're wrapping up the show. It looks ugly to me that this is taking place, and where it's taking place.
It doesn't look. It is ugly. There's no looking to it. I mean, all of it. It just is wrong. I mean, there's no other word. And for me, I'm glad Hollis asked him about the WVSSAC stepping in. They should have done something about this.
I think they had
year.
to.
They should have reseeded that region and given
100%.
Capital home court advantage like they deserve. Those kids deserve that. That's why you work all year to get that.
And that's
It's
more,
angering. It's angering.
that's more my problem, because when we look at the problems that we've had across athletics here in the state of West Virginia, unfortunately, and I'm not calling anybody out, maybe it's just how it's structured, the WVSSAC has been at the root of a lot of those issues, whether it's the lawsuits, whether it's the reseeding, whether it's the bad formula that they use to get the 4A quad A system together. It's just like, at this point, again, I'm not one for just super over-regulation, but when it comes to stuff like this, I think you mentioned earlier, Lisa, it has to just be a metric. It can't just be left up to just somebody's whim.
Not opinions, facts.
right.
Facts versus opinions.
Because the 4 teams who voted against Capital, those are like subpar 500 teams. So it doesn't even make sense.
No, it does
that
not.
you would be, and again, and has Principal Anderson alluded to, it's not even based on your regional record. It's based on your overall record. So you're just picking the best team that you just happen to be in a conference with. So it doesn't really make sense.
I would like to invite anyone who is part of that vote, who was made that choice, put them in that situation. Hey, feel free, please come on the show.
Or reach out to your Facebook page.
Reach out to the Facebook page. Let me clear it up with me, make it make sense to me, make it make sense to the crew, and we'll come back on. We'll have you on and let you talk and show that you were right. But if you're wrong, I mean, you've got to
justify
You got to
some things.
justify some things. So that's my invite. We'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the show, and we will be back again next week.